Today, we are in a different situation. We don't have to wait for official newspapers to recognize what has been written. We don't have to wait for peer reviews to come through. People can pick up good ideas that they think are relevant for them and take them out amongst each other. And that's today's communication revolution. In a way, telecommunications was a revolution when we had telephones and television and radio and so on. And then that died away, and then came the computer revolution, automation, the computing power suddenly introduced in the early 80s, completely revolutionized the way we did business. And then came this internet revolution based on computers and telecommunications. So if you like, it's a double revolution, combining telecommunications as well as the power of computing. And I think today, the role of the internet, the role of websites, the role of social networking, the role of chat groups is vital. You can create viral messages and they can go everywhere. And to me, as the study leader of TEEB, the economics of ecosystems and biodiversity, we have a deep need for this communication, because what we are trying to do is to make change happen. And we know that people are at the base of this change. Because if people don't understand that there is available to them today an economics as if nature mattered, and an economics as if people mattered, then why would they change their behavior? Why would they ask their politicians to change their thinking? Why would they ask business to change how it does business? They won't. People need to know this, and the way to get this to people is through this modern communication. Some of our well-being comes from consumption, but there are other aspects of well-being which don't come out of consuming different types of food, or having a bigger house, or having 2 cars. I mean, if you have 3 BlackBerries, it doesn't make you a happier person than if you had 2 BlackBerries or 1. If you have 5 television sets in your home, it doesn't actually, increase your happiness 20% compared to 4 television sets, or 60% compared to 3. That's not the way it works. The reality is that there are levels of consumption which are sufficient for a certain part of human well-being, and then after that you need the engagement and the happiness of the family, of the community, of clean air, of fresh water, of being able to be healthy in the environment, of the flows of nature. You need all of that as a human being. And unfortunately, our economic systems today are not geared to recognize all of these other benefits that come from the community, that come from the family, and that come from nature. That's the challenge. How do we make people understand that there is a way to measure things which recognizes this, so that politicians have to be aware, business has to be aware, people have to be aware. Let me take some examples. So how do we make politicians aware? Today, they are looking at GDP and savings as the main macroeconomic measures which they monitor, and inflation as a threat that can, if it's too high, destabilize the system. But they should also look at total capital in the system, human capital, natural capital, and physical capital. They should also look at the depreciation of total capital. In other words, how much nature per capita, per person have we lost? Or appreciation of human capital. Have we improved health? Have we improved education? Have we improved the peacefulness and harmony in society? Have you reduced strife and warfare and tension between different religions and different communities? Have we done all that? So we need a much more holistic set of measurements which covers that, and there is such an approach. It's called green accounting. There is another approach which uses indicators. You see, the beauty is that today we already have some of the new metrics that I talk about. They are already there. People are not using them. It's bad habits. It's the typical challenge of change, because whenever you undertake change, you have to get up, you have to do something, yeah? You have to put in extra effort, and you have to worry about what will it cost, and you also have to worry about unintended consequences. But frankly, no progress was ever made by people sitting exactly where they were yesterday and doing nothing any differently. We have to change. I'm optimistic about the future, not because I think it's a green future, but because I think it's a risky future. And I think if we do not recognize the risks that are there in ecological scarcities and in environmental damage, and if we do not recognize the risks that are in creating fissions between society, creating vast disparities of wealth between the rich and the poor, if we don't recognize these risks, both in the social side as well as in the natural side, then we will not have progress. We will just have another chaos, another calamity, another crisis. And it could be a worse crisis. It could be a crisis which combines, if you like, the ecological problems that we see around us and the social problems that are arising. So now people have to start thinking of the social risks, the political risks, in addition to the climate risks. This is what I mean. Important to measure. Without measuring the right things, you can never hope to manage them. And therefore, it is a knowledge challenge. It is a communications challenge to make the man on the street, the woman on the street, understand what is this about? Why are coral reefs important? Not because some guy on television says this is important or because it looks pretty, but because it's about humanity and the survival of human species and of communities close to the coral reefs who live on islands, who live on coastlines. That's just one example. Brazil has a huge opportunity of leadership because I see Brazil, because of its size and its rainforests and its grasslands, as a kind of global capital of natural capital. And the need of the hour today is for economies, economists, governments to recognize the role of natural capital in the future. We need to recognize that there are new jobs available through natural capital. We need to recognize that climate change mitigation can be done through forests. We need to recognize that adaptation to climate change can be done by replanting mangroves or replanting forests or rebuilding and restoring coral reefs. We need to recognize the importance of mitigation, adaptation, risk management, in other words, and new jobs in the better use of natural capital. It's kind of a big reserve where you can see the flows coming, but because nobody's paying money for those flows, you ignore them. And then, of course, the asset dies because you are using the same land for other things. This recognition is vital, and this recognition has to happen at the level of the household of every person, of every politician, of every businessman. And I think that's something that good communications and networks can achieve.